Kay Chitwood. So this is my granny. This is one of the 8 greats. And Kay, I'm not sure if her middle name was Kay or if that's Kautz, because Beulah Chitwood is going to marry Kautz, have 2 Kautz kids, and then marry a Rupard. And I knew her as Beulah Rupard. I didn't even know she was a Chitwood until I, turned 40 years old. So 8 greats. You got 2 parents, 4 grandparents, and then 8 great-grandparents. And my 8 great-grandparents are Marianne DeMosco, George Anthony Gripshover, Elizabeth Francis, I think Hellman, Ferdinand Gripshover, and Edward Deaton, Sarah Elizabeth Smith, Charles Anthony Kautz, and Beulah Chitwood. Chitwoods are a big family, and James Chitwood was a Tory in the British Army who got hung because he fought for the British in the American Revolution. And then all the Chitwoods ran out of North Carolina, went to Tennessee, and they live in Winfield, Tennessee. It used to be called Chitwood, Tennessee, but it's called Winfield, Tennessee, apparently after the Civil War. So this is all about Beulah Chitwood, okay? This is all about my granny. My granny is one of my great-grandparents. She was born 1915, and she's going to die in 1996. So May 4th, 1912, this is more than 3 years before Beulah was born. You had Ned KKK Callahan. He was finally sniped from a couple of bushwhackers while answering his phone at the window of a store in Crockettsville, Breathitt County, eastern Kentucky, which is about 4 or 5 counties east of McCreary County, which is near where the Chitwoods resided in Tennessee. So shit was going down for one part of my family, the Smiths and the Deatons in Breathitt County, while they're having to deal with this Ned Callahan bullshit in Breathitt County. Beulah Chitwood is born. She's gonna be born on September 9th, 1915. She's born in the city of Winfield, Tennessee, Scott County, which is in Appalachia. So she's a hillbilly, right? She's an Appalachian hillbilly, bordering southeastern Kentucky, McCreary County. Beulah was the 8th kid of 10. 8th kid of 10. So Beulah had shit ton of siblings, shit ton of nieces and nephews and aunts and uncles. Huge family. Beulah Chitwood. Beulah's father is David Howard, and her mother is Sally Ann. Hey, who's your parents? Oh, David Howard and Sally Ann. If that isn't, you can't get more hillbillies than that, can you? Old David Howard and Sally Ann, that's where we come from, David Howard, Sally Ann. When Beulah was born, David Howard Chitwood was 40 years old, and Sally Ann Baker was 35. The city of Winfield used to be named Chitwood in the late 1700s after Captain James Chitwood, who was a Tory who was hung by the American Revolutionaries after the Battle of, was it Black Mountain? At the Battle of something mountain. I got a question mark, so I gotta update this. But that's when they come to Tennessee. Chitwood was changed to Winfield after the Revolutionary U.S. Civil War due to the family's mixed allegiances. The population of Winfield in 2010 was 967. The highest point in Winfield, Tennessee is Chitwood Mountain. Chitwood Mountain. So that's my people. We got a fucking mountain in Winfield called Chitwood Mountain. And it's a whole 2,139 feet tall. So that was 1915. July 12th, 1918, Beulah's brother, Ronald David Chitwood, is going to be born in Tennessee when Beulah was 2 years old. December 19th, 1932, Beulah Chitwood, one of the 8 greats. She's only 17 years of age when she gets married to 25-year-old Charles Anthony Kautz. Scandal. Of course, it's above the age of consent. 25-17, Charles Anthony Kautz. If that hadn't happened, then my grandmother and therefore father or me, none of us would have been born. So Beulah Chitwood and Carl Kautz had 2 children during their marriage, Carol, born 1936, and Barb, born 1939. So Charles Anthony Kautz married 17-year-old Beulah Chitwood. December 19th, 1932. 1932, this is only 3 years after the Great Depression. Only 3 years after the Great Depression. So, May 1st, 1996, Beulah Chitwood would die in Florence, Kentucky. Beulah was living in a 20-story or so nursing home in 1996 Florence. Beulah died of an aneurysm in her brain. I don't know where her death certificate is, and I heard that they found her dead in the bathtub alone. In 1920, Beulah Chitwood's Tennessee home, there was a U.S. Census, January 20th. 45-year-old David Howard Chitwood and 38-year-old Sally Ann Baker, they're living together, and in their household you have 9 Chitwood children. Dan Chitwood children? So hard to say Chitwood. It's also just, Shitwood? Just be easy to call them Shitwood, right? Bunch of Chitwoods. So David Howard Chitwood, Sally Ann Baker Chitwood. While they're in Scott County, Civil District number 4, they had these 9 kids, and these would be Beulah's siblings. So these would be my, distant aunts and uncles. So Claude Chitwood, Maud Chitwood, Lena Chitwood, Christine Chitwood, John Clyde Chitwood, Chester Lee Chitwood, Jesse Lynn Chitwood, Beulah Chitwood, and Ronald Chitwood. Claude, Maud, Lena, Christine, John, Chester, Jesse Lynn, Beulah, Ronald. David Howard Chitwood, who could not read or write, rented his 1920 home. David Howard Chitwood was a coal miner farmer, and a 20-year-old Claude Chitwood was a teamster, a union man. So that's awesome. So Beulah would be my great-great-grandmother. David Howard and Sally Ann would be my great-great-great-grandmother and grandfather. So my great-great-great-grandfather was a coal miner, and he had a son who was a teamster. So we were a union family. What the fuck is going on? This is remarkable, because this is on my paternal side, who pretends to be all prim and proper, and then my German side pretend to be the damn hillbillies, so prim and proper try to be hillbilly, and the hillbilly is saying, I don't know if but really, they're from Germany. He's always been the hillbilly. She was never the hillbilly, pretending to be, he's trying to uplive, it doesn't. Carrying on. The Chitwoods, I love the Chitwoods. Out of all the 8 greats that I know, all I know is Beulah Chitwood. I don't know Ferdinand. I don't know Elizabeth Hellman. I don't know George Anthony, Gripshover, Marianne Damasco, Edward Deaton, Sarah Smith, Charles Kautz. I've never met any of these people. I met Beulah Chitwood. She was an older woman. I mean, she's going to die in 96. I was born in 82, so only 10-something years old. The old man used to take me and my siblings up to Beulah's apartment, nursing home, whatever, in Florence, Kentucky, and we would ring the doorbell as if we had drove all the way up to Florence to go see her. On June 11th, 1921, Beulah's sister, Vera, the 10th Chitwood child, was going to be born. So this means she's got 9 siblings. She's got 9 siblings. We see how many, siblings was in the house in 1920, and then Vera is going to be born a year after that census was taken. Now, let's go to Beulah Chitwood's Tennessee home in 1930. So, 1930, this would be before she got married, right? So, this is before she got married, when she's with David Howard and Sally Ann. And John Stanley, he's the one who fills out the census form, 1930 U.S. Census form, filled out May 29th, 1930. Come across Beulah Chitwood when she was 14 years of age, Scott County, Tennessee, with her father, David Howard Chitwood, and her mother, Sally Ann Baker, and 11-year-old brother, Ronald, and an 8-year-old sister, Lorvera. So Ronald, Lorvera, and Beulah was still in the household in 1930, but all the rest of them had moved on to bigger, better things. Moved on up, probably went to college, probably got themselves a nice farm just over yonder. Or probably just got kicked the fuck out. Get the fuck out of the house. Get the hell out. You're 18. But you didn't teach me nothing. I don't give a shit. Get the hell out of here. So, you know, a family of 10, and there's only 3 in the house. I don't know, it seems significant. Around the Great Depression, I'm just trying to recreate. I don't know. I only know her from, you know, she's an old lady who lived in an apartment by herself. She had all these family and all these people. And where the hell was that? All these people at? Jessie Lynn she was old too. And Jessie, there's, I guess, 2 old people that I knew in my youth. And she just kind of smelled like mothballs, and she was depressed, and she had told my mother that she didn't want to live anymore. So how come we're, you know, Chitwoods? We need to do better. Is this how the Chitwoods treat each other? Just throw each other in a home and just forget about each other, and who gives a damn? If that's the case, then, you know, as a Chitwood myself, we've got to do better. Around the time of the Great Depression, so this would be 1930, right? Laura Vera, Ronald, Beulah, her friends, neighbors, they were so poor that for fun they would tie a string around lightning bugs and then just follow the lightning bugs on a string. She told me that. I only had a couple conversations with her. I had a baseball game, went over to visit her, and it was just me and her, and I got to ask her a couple questions. I felt like I was a little awkward. Maybe she was awkward, or maybe we were just too damn nice that we couldn't say, hey, I want to get to know you. I want to talk to you. I want to get to know you. And 1930, David Howard Chitwood owned his own home, and he owned his own farm. He wasn't throwing all of his earnings away on rent anymore. He wasn't pissing his money on rent. He finally got something that he could. So he owned his own farm. He owned his own home. Neither David Howard nor Sally Ann attended public school. Vera, Ronald, and Beulah all did. So Beulah went to school. Maybe that's public education. Maybe that's the reason why families don't know how to get along. David and Sally, however, could read and write. Beulah, Sally, David Howard, Ronald, and Vera were all born in Tennessee. Sally's mother and father were born in Tennessee, too. David Howard Chitwood's mother, Nancy Campbell, however, my great-great-great-great-grandmother, Nancy Campbell, good old so we Campbells, too. Don't even fuck with the Campbells. Nancy Campbell was born in Kentucky. Sally Ann Baker is Beulah Chitwood's mother. 1850, Calvin Malin Baker was born September 7th, 1815 on Jellicoe Creek, Scott County, Tennessee. Nancy Duncan and Calvin Malin Baker are Sally Ann Baker's parents. Calvin and Nancy Duncan had at least 13 kids. Josh, Bill, Sally Ann, John Henry, Frank, Finley, Maud, Manda, Martha J., Samuel D., Granville, Luther, Elizabeth, and Wilda. Good old Wilda. And Sally Ann Baker, she was number 3 of 13. So Sally Ann Baker come from a big-ass family. Old Josh, Bill, Sally, John Henry, Frank Finley, Maud, Manda. Is it short for Manda, or is it just Manda? Martha J., Samuel D., Granville. Oh, Granville Baker. So I guess that's Luther, Elizabeth, Wilda. Sally Ann was number 3 of 13. David Howard's mother was Nancy Campbell, and his father was David, not Howard Chitwood. So you got David Howard Chitwood, and his father is just David Chitwood. That's how I'm going to make a distinction between them two. Also, double check my work. If any of these people aren't, related, please tell me. Because I'm just gathering all this stuff from the internet. Ancestry.com specifically. Nancy Campbell was born in Kentucky. 1870 census has David Not Howard Chitwood 34 farming, Nancy Campbell 35 keeping house. And you had Sarah, Andrew, Mary, Lucinda, James L. Rufus. Rufus? Is that Granville or Luther? Rufus. Where did Rufus? And then where's Wilda? What happened to Wilda? So they're all just sitting at home in Winfield, Scott County, Tennessee. Elizabeth, in her defense, was born 7 months ago in November 1869. David Chitwood owned $1,400 in assets, $600 in loose change. And David Not Howard Chitwood was born in Missouri. Nancy in Kentucky, and Sarah, Andrew, Mary, Lucinda, James L. Rufus, and Elizabeth in Tennessee. says some deep-ass Appalachian Mountains in Tennessee. My God, Eastern Kentuckians, make me nervous, but Eastern Tennesseans, holy shit. Well, 4 years later, David, not Howard Chitwood, and wife gave birth to David Howard Chitwood on November 15, 1874 in Scott County, Tennessee, United States of America. 1932, Beulah is going to get married to Charles Anthony Kautz. So 25-year-old marries 17 years old. They seem to be pushing their kids right out of it, so it's probably David Howard and Sally Ann Baker was like, just take Beulah off our hands, will you? Carl Kautz, just take her, will you? And now Carl Anthony Kautz and Beulah are going to have a little life together. So Beulah Chitwood's Tennessee home in 1940, so fast forward 8 years. On a 1940 U.S. Census, April 2nd, we witnessed two of my greats, Carl and Beulah Kautz, living together at 404 West 13th Street in Kenton County, Kentucky, along with 4-year-old Carol and 1-year-old Barb, also known as my grandmother. Beulah Kautz answered the U.S. Census questions, because one of them, they put a little star, so she was the one that she thought all of this, whether it was true or not. So Carl Kautz rented the house at 404 West 13th Street, Covington, right? Or Newport. Probably Covington. For $18 a month. Rent was $18 a month in 1940. Who wants to spend that kind of cash on rent? $18 a month? Fuck that bullshit. Carl was 32 years of age. Beulah was 25 years old. So they had a 4-year-old and they had a 1-year-old. Both Carl and Beulah never went to high school. They both dropped out after the 8th grade. Carl, Carol, and Barbara were all born in Kentucky. Beulah was born in Tennessee. So Beulah was the Tennessee person, right? Carl was a Kentucky person. Carl worked 50 hours. Carl Kautz, a German, worked 50 hours a week at a mechanic garage, making $750 per year. So, my God, just take, 20 times 12, that's 240. So he's, $500 bucks. If rent's $18, that means he gets $500, just nets $500 a year. Fucking Carl Kautz was banking. He was making bank back in 1940. And then it said that Beulah, she worked 40 hours a week, too, at keeping house and taking care of Carol and Barbara. Basically the same thing. It's basically the same thing of him going out and getting a shit job around a bunch of shitty assholes and having to be... It's basically the same thing. And worked 40 hours. I'm pretty sure... Don't you have to work the whole time? It feels like... Nope. Don't have to be a mother. I am clocked out. Don't have to be a mother today. Don't have to be a mother. Nope. Today is my day off. I've already put my 40 hours in. So she's actually she needs to give herself more credit. So there you go, 1940. Beulah and Carl moved in 1940 from West 13th Street to 1252 Hermes Avenue. And we're going to find out because he had to file some sort of draft registration card. So that means he was drafted into World War II. Carl Anthony Kautz is the greatest generation. Went over there and killed a bunch of fucking Nazis. Carl Kautz, just like Camillus Gripshuber, are anti-fascist heroes. They killed them fascist motherfuckers over there. So, 33 years of age, Carl Anthony Kautz fills out a World War II draft card listing that address, 1252 Hermes Avenue on it. Beulah's name was listed as Beulah, B-U-L-A. It's actually spelled B-E-U-L-A-H. So Carl Anthony Kautz didn't even know how to spell Beulah's first name. Come on, Carl Anthony Kautz. Fucking get with it, can't you? Carl's working for a Mr. Hank Fisher on 9th and Pike Street in Covington, Kentucky, and then it says that he was discharged December 18th, 1944. It was written in ink on the bottom of the World War II draft registration card, so that tells me he fought in World War II and then got the fuck up out, in December, before Christmas in 44. July 3rd, 1950, Vera Laura Vera, So Laura Vera Chitwood, Beulah Chitwood's baby sister, will die in childbirth in Oneida, Tennessee, when Beulah was 34 years of age. So the death certificate said that the cause of death is childbirth antepartum due to hemorrhage due to placenta previa. Before that terrible July 3rd, 1950 day, Laura Vera Chitwood had married Noah Davis, and they had had 3 kids successfully. One in 45, Robert Edgar Davis, another in 48, Ruth Ann Davis, and then another in 49, Jackie Edward Davis. So, Vera Chitwood got to carry her legacy on, even though she did die in childbirth. And probably the baby died apparently too, because we only get, well, maybe not, I don't know. I'm not for sure. But we do know that Robert Edgar, Jackie Edward, and Ruth Ann are Laura Vera's children, which means I'm related to all you, your family. Laura Vera, what? You're a Laura Vera Chitwood? You're a Davis? Ruth Ann Davis. Get the fuck. She died in 2014. Jackie Edward died in 2008. Robert Edgar Davis died in 2002. So these are, you know, patriarchs and whatnot. So 1961, Beulah lost both of her parents. Her mother, Sally Ann Baker, passed away on July 25th, 1961 in Winfield, Tennessee at the age of 81. Beulah's going to die at 81 years of age, too. So Sally Ann Baker, you know, made it to 81 years of age. And then David Howard Chitwood is going to die less than 2 months later on September 15th, 1961 in Oneida, Tennessee at the age of 86. Probably of a broken heart, just like in Where the Red Fern Grows. October 7th, 1969 in Cincinnati, Ohio, Beulah's ex-husband, Charles Carl Anthony, passed away at the age of 61. June 27th, 1970, Beulah Chitwood and Joseph A. Rupard filed for a divorce. So just after Carl Anthony dies, she divorces Joseph Rupert. Their address was listed at 2225 Howard Street, Covington, Kentucky. March 27th, 1972, Beulah Rupert's sister, May Chitwood, is listed as being dead in the Cincinnati Enquirer. Here's the obituary of Beulah's sister in 1972. May Chitwood, beloved wife of Sherman Ross, mother of Mrs. Juanita Morris, grandmother of 2 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren, sister of a Mrs. Beulah Rupert Chitwood, Mrs. Jessie Lynn Overbeck, another Chitwood, Mrs. Christine Triling, Mrs. Lena Ross, Ronald and Chester Chitwood, at her residence, 15 Huckleberry Hill. Fort Mitchell, Kentucky, Saturday, March 25th, 1972, age 72 years. Services at the Allison and Rose Funeral Home Incorporated, Robin Street and Madison Avenue, Covington, Kentucky. Wednesday, March 29th at 1 p.m. Internment Forest Lawn Memorial Park. Friends may call from 4 until 9 p.m. Tuesday. Now I'm going to talk about Beulah Chitwood's Kentucky home in the 1990s. I remember visiting her, right? My old man, Kevin Deaton, would go up to her apartment. We would ring the doorbell like, you know, as a joke, right? That's funny, right? So you're an old woman, and you see one of your great-grandchildren, you know, ringing the doorbell at your, how the hell did you get up here? That's like an hour, you know, 30-minute, 45-minute drive. So Beulah Chitwood, she was old, but she was real nice compared to Jessie Lynn. I don't know if just maybe, I'm not sure what Jessie, I didn't know Jessie Lynn as well, and we didn't visit as much. But Beulah, compared to Jessie Lynn, seemed to be warm, and her face was lit up. She wasn't beat down, so she was warm and she was kind, and she, you know, had some old stereotypical boring people's glasses. I can't find any pictures of Beulah, you know, Chitwood online. I would say that her demeanor and her disposition were similar to Granny of Tweety Bird. So Tweety Bird's granny, you want to think about how my granny is. Tweety Bird's granny is, she had a truly tasteless jokes calendar cube, which I like to read when I was there. Lots of National Enquirer, some coasters underneath her coffee table that I like to play with. The coasters had 3 pieces. There was a top and a bottom, and then there was a nice piece of felt in the middle. her nursing home was like 20 stories, and she lived on the 7th floor. So while Beulah was living in a nursing home, it gives some people trauma. It gave my mother trauma as a kid, when it's just kind of crazy, because I've been worried about my mother, you know, whether or not she's going to go to a nursing home, you know, 50 years later. Meanwhile, I've been homeless the whole time. So I remember I had a baseball game. Well, I'll come back to this, okay? More about Beulah Chitwood coming up.